Welcome, everybody. And no, that is not right. We're not talking about work permits today. This is Mark Holthe, Canadian immigration lawyer. Welcome to the Immigration Live Q&A. And we are so close, you guys. We are so close to being able to turn Alicia loose and allow her to run her own live Q&A. And one of the things we're looking at with our channels is to make sure that each lawyer has their own Q&A channel. And then you can just watch Q&As day after day. And yeah, it's going to be awesome. So thank you guys for tuning in. Alicia, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I'm doing a lot of consults these days and have some stories to tell from consults that hopefully will save other people from heartbreak. So we'll try to get to that and answer some questions.
That's a good segue. So today what we're going to do is we're going to start off by talking about a horror story. And that's the only way I can describe it, that Alicia just experienced with a client who booked a consult with us. And this is a telltale reason why it pays to get a little bit of assistance in advance. And we'll get to that. Express entry, application refused, person with no options. And you guys know the consequences now more than anything, what happens when things go south. And that's what happened. And so we'll have Alicia talk about that in a little bit. But I want to give a shout out to everybody who's tuning in and who we had a really, really good live stream yesterday. I think we had up to, there's over 380 people that were watching live. And so, soon people are going to realize that this is where they're actually going to get the good answers. Wednesdays are kind of the entertainment day, but this is where you get the good core legal answers because you've got Alicia here. So those of you who have questions, hold off on those. Give us a shout out. Let us know how you guys are doing. Divine, good to see you. Let us know where you're tuning in from. And Thesura, bonjour. As well to you, Thesura. He's like he is the faithful follower since the beginning of time. I don't even remember, Thesura, how long. I know earlier last year you went through the Express Entry course, and it's great having you connect in with us. Let's Go Can Official. Awesome. I love that one. Hello, Mark and Alicia. Very good morning to you, Arun. And so just post in the comments where you're tuning in from, and we'll give just a few minutes for people to jump in before we have Alicia share this really heartbreaking story. And we'll also share some tips on maybe how to try to avoid this situation from happening. And then we'll jump into the Q&A portion. So we've got Legit 90s. That is awesome. I love these handles, you guys, from Cambridge, Ontario. And Aaron, good to see you. So like I said, hold off on your questions. Myrna says, move from Victoria, BC to Edmonton. Nice, Myrna. Nice. Coming to the homeland here. Divine is in the Emirates. Good to see you, Abu Dhabi. And let's see here. All right. Don't know what that means, but hey, maybe you understand what that means, Alicia.
Yeah, it's
Imran,
a greeting.
Oh, it's a greeting. Excellent. And Imran is tuning in from India. And we've got Andy is over in Ottawa, and Leah is in Bellevue, Ontario. And Bodika, thank you. I think we both appreciate that. It makes a big difference when we know people are feeling like they're getting some benefit out of this. So that's great. And Let's Go Can is in Brampton. And Irfan is connecting in from Pakistan. Hello. Marudi, hello to you. And Andre is in Montreal. And I can
Montreal.
Montreal. All right.
Montreal.
Say it again.
Montreal.
Montreal. Yeah, exactly. And we've got Eric who's in Riyadh. Welcome, Eric. Good to see you. Sabia is over in Saskatoon. That's excellent. I'm actually going to shift this around a little bit so it's up a little bit better here for me to see. Let's see, who else do we have here? Liz says, Mark and Alicia, many thanks for your help. You're very, very welcome. Let's Go says, my planning to move to Alberta as well. Oh, I can't help myself here. Let's give them a round of applause. That's awesome. Alberta is clearly the best country, the best province in this fine country that we have here. Piyush is down in Atlanta, Georgia. Hello, Piyush. Good to see you. Astitfa is in Dublin, Ireland. Excellent. And Kahari is in South Africa. We've got a really good makeup here. All right. We've got this individual joining from Jamaica. Welcome. And yeah, original from Delhi. There's lots of you guys are from India that are in Canada. Liz is over in Moscow. So great, Liz. It's great to connect with you once again. And oh, look at this. We've even got
Oh,
Nunavut. This is
nice.
awesome. Oh, big shout out there. Okay, Ariel, let us know what the temperature is in Nunavut right now. I'd like to know how cold it is up in Iqaluit. Okay. And Yu Chen from up in Edmonton, good to see you. And once again, we've got another person from Jamaica. And yep, lovely weather. What's the temperature there where you're at in Calgary, Alicia?
It's pretty warm today. I think it's
Yeah,
for
I'm
sure
sitting at
positive digits.
I'm sitting at 0 here. People can see that. So we're right at freezing here. Okay, let's see who else we have here. Chitanya. There's another one. There's Chitanya. Good to see you guys in action, helping all my fellow immigrant family deal with this crazy immigration world. Cheers to you guys. Thank you. And that's really it, right, Chitanya? You had a battle, my friend. But yeah, through a lot of work, and this is the difference between the story Alicia's going to share compared to Chitanya, who had his pretty significant issues he was working through, and he's a permanent resident now. And it was really good because he came to us at a time when we were actually able to help him. And that's the hard part with us lawyers, right, Alicia? People usually come to us when they've exhausted all avenues. And it's not like when we first started practicing, 18, 20 years ago. Back then
Yeah.
we could fix most things, but now the ability to do that is just not possible. So Jose is in Namibia, and Aisha, thank you for joining in as well. The Red Devil Reports is Delhi. I love these handles. And we've got someone from Italy, and once again, another person from South Africa. This is great. We've got a really, really good group of people. Nigeria, Sajad, hello. And Sajad, what do you mean former Alberta resident? What are you talking about, my friend? Kartik says next tech draw. Good question. We will address all the questions that you guys have. Another person from Nairobi, and we've got another Albertan up in Westlock. And Eric, that's a good question. Do you still do the podcast? Yes, we're spinning this out and we're releasing some of these as a podcast. And this is actually a really nice segue to go into some of the things that we have going on within the Canadian Immigration Institute. And if you go here, and yes, the spousal course is going. It's awesome. It is so much fun. We're having a great time. If you go here, you'll see up at the top is podcast now on the Canadian Immigration Institute page. And when you click on the podcast, you will see that we have a brand new episode all about job offers that we've launched here with Chanel. And interview with the Afghan crisis, interview with the judge. So now we're starting to spin a lot of things off into the podcast. So stay tuned for that and watch it unfold. And like I said, within our courses here, I'm really, really excited because this one here, the spousal sponsorship course, is so much fun. It's a complete different dynamic than Express Entry. And so we've got that cruising along. All right, we'll do a few more shout outs here and then we'll wrap this up here. Antigua, this is great. We've got New Delhi, 6 degrees Celsius there. That's awesome. Hello, Riri. Good to see you. And Vishnu's over in Nepal. And Andy says, -9 in Ottawa. Feels like -16. What does that mean, Alicia? Like realistically, all the time we're talking about this wind chill, right?
Well, and it's also the humidity. So I was born in Ottawa, and it's a true thing that it is colder when you've got a lot of humidity in the air. So it's a damp cold. It's that cold that kind of goes into your
Ugh,
bones.
just
Whereas in Alberta,
soaks.
it tends to be really dry. And so even when it's cold, we've got wind, but we don't usually have the damp.
Wow. It's dry here. And so my hands are all dry. And that's one thing, the trade-off, but yeah, it doesn't feel like it's like cutting you to the bone. So good stuff. Hola, Fiona, como está? She's connecting in from Brazil. Yes, I'm not terribly good at French for sure, but I've got Portuguese down, so we can work off of that one. We'll have a special Portuguese live one day if we have enough people that are connecting in. Okay, we've got another person from Dubai. Nim, good to see you. And like I said, those of you hold off on the questions. And okay, someone's looking for definitely getting their question answered today. Look at this one, Alicia. Mark and Alicia are one of the best immigration lawyers we have ever known. Alicia is working on my father-in-law's TRV application, and we are very hopeful. So thank you. That's awesome, isn't it? When our
Yeah.
clients come on here and give us shout outs. Yeah. So those
Thank you.
3 well-deserved big hearts there. Isaac's over in Nigeria. We've got a really good group. See, people are starting to learn, Alicia, that this is where you come to actually get your questions answered. So we've got Nepal again, and I think we're just about through. Oh, that's nice. Okay. I'm not sure if that's a mocking or if that's a compliment. Uh, I'll take somewhere right in the middle there. Okay. Mady says, Alicia Mark, good to see you again as well. George is in the house, another alumni of the Canadian Immigration Institute. Good to see you, George. And Nixon's celebrating. We can celebrate people's positive stories. Expression of interest from Ontario. Nixon, that's awesome. Congratulations. And let's see, we'll keep zipping through here. Erica, I'm trying to catch to the bottom. I'm just about there. Ali's in Dubai. Jin, we've got Philippines. I just hired a video editor from the Philippines just a couple days ago. Phil, I'm really excited to have him join our team. Pam's in Surrey. And yep, Nixon, there it is. Notice of interest from Ontario. All right, it's time. It is time. Alicia, let's dive in, and I want you to share your
cautionary
story
tale.
that just happened. Very, very, very sad.
Yeah. So I did an English degree as my first degree, and one of the things that we had as a story format was the cautionary tale, right? There's this theme in literature of people who tell the story of what went wrong so that hopefully the people coming after them will avoid this similar fate. So this is a cautionary tale. This is the tale of applying for express entry and having to be super, super careful on what you list as your residential address, and what's your mailing address, and what's your residential address, and what is your travel history. So here's what happened. There was an applicant from Europe, so from a European country. They had qualified for International Experience Canada, and so of course only some countries are eligible for people who are relatively young to apply for their IEC working holiday permit. And in this case, the individual had been traveling in the US. So they weren't living at home in Europe, they were traveling in the US. They got their approval for IEC. They came directly from the US into Canada. Fantastic. They worked off and on in Canada. They had a 2-year IUC. They didn't quite get their 2 years of work experience. So they got their 1 year. They qualified for CEC. They put in their own application under Express Entry for CEC. They got one of the draws, the late draws, in 2021, and submitted their Express Entry application on their own, did a bridging open work permit because now that IEC work permit's about to expire. And what happened? Well, they got refused on their underlying CEC application because immigration said, wait a minute, your police certificate from your home country in Europe was too old. And because you listed your residence address as your place in Europe, as your permanent address in Europe, even though you told us you were traveling in the US, we're refusing your entire application because you don't have an updated police certificate from Europe. And then what's going to happen is the whole thing falls down like a house of cards, right? That bridging open work permit is now going to get refused. It hasn't been yet, but it will within probably a week or two. And the employer is not going to be able to do an LMIA in this case, unfortunately. And that person wasn't able to apply to one of the provincial nominee programs because they didn't think they had to. So now there's no time to do it. And there's no more options. And
Yeah.
it's just awful.
Yeah. It's horrible. And when I first started creating the Express Entry course, Alicia, I thought to myself, well, you know what, is this going to be valuable to people? This stuff that I know and understand about the Express Entry process, it's pretty straightforward, at least in my mind. But once I created the Express Entry Law private Facebook group and I saw the questions coming and I saw how what I thought was very clear and transparent, the instructions, that how could you interpret it any other way? People were reading it and interpreting it in all different kinds of ways, legitimately, just because their
Yeah.
perspective was different. They didn't understand the terminology. They didn't understand what the words meant. And I think the biggest problem that I have right now is that immigration, the department, feels like their instructions are perfect. Like, how can anyone not understand what we're asking you to do? And if you don't do exactly what we say, because it's so clear and transparent, well, that's not our fault. We've got this massive backlog. And so we're just going to refuse your application because it's faster to refuse than it is to actually go through and approve. And we've got lots of people now. And so this is one of the biggest, pain points for me. And then we go online and we search and we follow WhatsApp groups and other, private Facebook groups and whatever. And people are like constantly saying, oh, it's so easy. You don't need to hire anyone to help you. You can do it yourself, and then they give the impression that if you are seeking help from someone else, that there must be something wrong with you, that you're not as smart or as intelligent. And my goodness, Alicia, it's just a train wreck. And I felt awful when I heard you tell me this story. It's so preventable too. The guide itself, like the course itself, I clearly kind of explain how you do it, but it's not readily apparent on the surface of the instructions from immigration. So
and that was exactly the problem. So this individual had actually requested reconsideration, had said, look, like it was not clear at all from the express entry instructions that I needed to declare the fact that I was, my residence was actually the US, even though I didn't have any long-term residence. I was just traveling in the US. There was no indication that I couldn't rely on the policy that if I hadn't traveled to a country, it had been more than 6 months, I could still use that old police certificate. But the response back from immigration was, too bad. If you put that your residence was in Europe and your police certificate from Europe had expired, too bad, you're out of luck. And there's no do-overs. There's no ability to simply upload a new police certificate, because that would have been super easy. And this poor individual has no other options right now. And he'd already done that reconsideration request. And he said, I wish I would have come to you guys ahead of time so that this could have all been prevented. I just thought that it was all going fine until all of a sudden it wasn't.
Yeah. It just all crumbles. And that's the hardest part for us. This all started, Alicia, for the simple reason of having these consults for me. When Express Entry was first launched, I remember I was on a working group with the Canadian Bar Association and the Express Entry working group. And it's interesting because I could see, and this was kind of mid 2014, I could see what this was going to do to so many candidates, in particular, all the Filipino individuals that were in Alberta on foreign work permits, or international grads who were getting their postgrads. I could see very clearly that with this new system, where they would have qualified through CEC, they were not going to because of the comprehensive ranking system. And so I started doing blog posts and trying to, let people know. But, I'd set consults. I remember coming to Calgary, to the office I used to have in Calgary. And I had lined up every half hour, I think it was like 12 consults. And every single one, after this one day, I said, this is it. Every single consult, there was nothing that I could do to help them. If they'd come to me a year earlier, we could have dealt with it. And even if they just came and booked a short little consult, we could have dealt with it. But there was nothing worse than telling them, look, there's nothing I can do. You have to go home. And so then I thought, well, I've got to amplify this message. So then the Canadian Immigration Podcast was created. And then from that, it's all gradually flowed here to the live streaming that we do here today. And so all with a view to advise and warn people. And it's so sad when things are so preventable. But the world that we're in now, there's so many sketchy, representatives out there who, and people who are offering their advice on immigration that people just don't know who they can trust. And so I don't blame people for not coming to the expense of lawyers, right, for a little bit of guidance and direction. So preventable. So preventable. Yeah. All right. Well, let's jump into a few questions here and let's see what we've got. So Zachariah says, I'm a software engineer with 4 years experience. However, in the last 9.5 years, I've been working as a vocational instructor. Can I use software developer knock? So I know where he's going here, Alicia, and I'll lead you into this and then you can answer it. So some people are confused with the role that education plays in the actual classification of your knock. So the employment requirements under the duties in that knock don't apply, my friend. But when the determination comes, when you're matching it up, what do they look at, Alicia?
Yeah, so they look at, and this is actually in the ministerial instructions, and it talks about you have to meet the lead statement. So the lead statement, if you pull up the National Occupation Classification Code and you take a look at any of the 4 digits codes, it's going to have kind of a paragraph at the top, and that's what they call the lead statement. It's kind of your overarching description of what the role is and what kind of companies hire for that kind of role. So you have to show that you meet the lead statement, and you also have to show that you meet the majority. So this is the problem. They don't say exactly how much is the majority, but to be safe, we're going to say 75% of the listed mandatory main duties. And take a look at each NOC you're looking at, because some of them have ones that are required duties, and then some of them have at the bottom, they'll have a few duties that start with the word may, right? You may do this or that. And out of the ones that don't say may, prove that you're meeting 75% of those mandatory main duties plus the lead statement.
All
So
right.
really that's what you're needing to look at, and you've got to look at that over the last 10 years, right? So your work experience has to be current. It can't be too old.
Yeah. Perfect. Great. Thanks. Okay. So from Moscow, here comes the question from Liz. So Liz says, um, IRCC, so FSW, I think IRCC, I think is what she's saying here, saw we have a newborn. So congratulations. Only after the passport request. He passed the medical and was added to the application. Then passports were returned without visas. No update. Will there be update if that's a rejection? It's not going to be a rejection, Liz. So there's something, as long as the baby was disclosed and examined and everything like that, um, this is just a classic example of just the mass turmoil that's going on within the immigration system right now as it pertains to communicating with people. So you need to consistently follow up with web forms. Now, as of January, they are starting to actually respond and meaningfully deal with web form requests. But I would follow up and say, because they, as far as sending the passports back, obviously, they have to, I'm surprised actually that they did. Um, Sending the passports back, uh, the baby will need a passport themselves, and they'll need to change the visas and reissue new ones to include that little child. But follow up with them, stay on top of them, and that's really all that you can do at this stage. Anything else to add, Alicia?
Just make sure you also have settlement funds if you were doing FSW, so that you've got for sure the settlement funds to be able to afford to care for that many family members, the additional family member.
Yeah. So Gopinath here asks a question about, this is more of our prognostication. CEC draws, will they be NOC and occupation specific? And I think if you guys watched the video that I did yesterday, I covered a little bit what the discussion I had with Minister Fraser and some of his priorities. And I very clearly affirmed that there will be FSW draws this year, and that's one thing that he made clear. But what those look like is a different thing, and this is entirely possible. They may go to an occupation kind of driven, occupation in demand model for some aspects of the FSW. It wouldn't surprise me. Now, whether they just add more points from the comprehensive ranking system, or whether they choose to just have that as an entry requirement, which would take a regulatory change, to actually change the entry requirements to get into the pool. That's a different discussion, and I'm on a working group right now with the CBA that we're looking at the issues that are befalling people that are stuck in Canada without CEC draws happening at all. But yeah, for CEC compared to FSW, I really, I think FSW, that's a very good chance that we could see that. CEC, I think it's unlikely, just because if they are going to do a draw, there's so many people here that are just desperately waiting for those ITAs for CEC. So,
Yeah.
all right. And then Chaitanya, you're awesome. Look at this character here. Best decision made in life was to come to see you. If I wouldn't have, I doubt that I would have been a Canadian PR. Just about ready to consult you about my family. Thanks, Chaitanya. That's awesome. Okay, let's see here. Oh, so Liz has got some follow up here. So she says, was asked to provide proof of funds for the second time, this time for the last 3 months after we added a newborn. First, we provided funds for half a year. Why for 3 months?
Yeah, I mean, so you have to be able to prove that you've had that money and that they can see how that money is accumulating in your account. And if there is a large deposit from some other source, they want to know where that came from. Um, so this time they only asked for 3 months. I guess they just want to know what you've been doing for the last 3 months. If you've had to go off because you've had the baby and you're not able to work, then they probably want to know what the source of those funds are.
Mhm. Yeah. And we're seeing, like I said, with many, many people who've been languishing for a long time in the queue, this is something we're seeing. And, the request to confirm your settlement funds. We're also seeing background declarations coming back sometimes
Hmm.
where they want
Yeah.
updated, where have you been kind of information? What have you been up to? And then that potentially can trigger the need for maybe a new police certificate if you've moved countries. And so all of that is, all of those things are on the table now. Just at least for this short period of time. I think things are going to settle down to normal a little bit later once they get through these backlogs, but that's a reality. Okay, let's see. Shanthony. Oh, she says, thanks, Mark and Alicia, for everything you do. You are one of the best parts of my week. Okay, we have to give her some applause. Would you ever have David Chalk on again for a specific Quebec Q&A? That's a great idea. We definitely could have David on. Or better yet, if you're a Quebec-based immigration lawyer, you could just join our firm. Join Alicia and I, and then we could do a Q&A. So absolutely. Now, both Chanel and Alicia speak French. And at this stage, we haven't waded into the world of Quebec immigration. We do refer work to our colleagues in Quebec that are Quebec-based immigration. But Holthe Immigration Law is definitely hiring. And so if you're a Quebec-based immigration lawyer looking for a fun opportunity to come join us here on the Canadian Immigration Institute, we would love to have you. So thank you for that suggestion. And I think it would be definitely possible to have David on. I'm not sure if David's watching now. I think he's down swimming with the sharks down in the Caribbean, I think is what I heard from him a couple days ago. So I think he's enjoying a much, much needed break. Okay, and Liz is still going, and she says, we've been waiting for a decision since 2019. Yeah, it's painful,
Oh
Liz.
man.
Passed medical exams for 3 times. Oh my goodness. And you can see, you guys, why they're now telling people not to get your medicals, to hold off and wait. And until things settle down, I think that's wise for people. But in March, new medicals expire. Do you think there's a chance to get a final decision before March? You know what, Liz? I'll be honest. I think you do have a shot at it. They've sunk 85 million, 86 million into processing. They've made, 1.3 billion investment in the Afghan crisis to hopefully, hire new officers. But one thing that the minister did say is that they are having just as much trouble as other employers in Canada finding the people that they need. So hiring is an issue, and they can't just pick someone up off the street and turn them loose to processing applications, right, Alicia? And so, that's the biggest challenge. So there will be a little bit of time for it to move forward, but it is a priority. So
Yeah.
I think you've got a chance, Liz. I think you have a chance. All right, let's see what Marudi says. Company applied for a closed work permit from outside India, June 30th, 2021, biometrics August 6th, medicals August 13th. No message since applied under GSS, including open spouse. I think this is pretty common, isn't it, Alicia?
Yeah, I mean, it's ironic that IRCC is having a hard time hiring people. Everybody else in Canada too. If you have
Yep.
to look for foreign national, and if you've got to go through that outside Canada process, if you don't have somebody already in Canada, this is a long and painful process, and it's important to prepare and apply way early.
Yeah. And I'll just point out again, some people say, well, most employers don't want to do the LMIA process. Well, that's why I created the course, because, if they just want to test the waters, they just want to see if it's even possible. They just want to get to the point where they're, even posting the ads. That's why I created this course, so that it would basically give them a good high overview of how this works. But I shouldn't say overview. That's probably not accurate. It's much, much more detailed and in depth with how the process flows. So I recommend that people go in there and check that out. While we're sliding over there, I do want to just highlight the fact that yes, there was no no PNP draw yesterday. And so what does that mean? Whenever we have delays, then crazy things kind of happen. And so we'll just see what's happening. They've kind of, they didn't do a draw. Maybe there'll be one today. but yeah, the reality is this next 6 months are going to be very telling for a very, very lot of people. All right. Okay, let's see. Next question we have here is from Anant. And he says, AOR July 2020, FSW. Okay, so July. At security, not started since November, CIO Sydney, Nova Scotia. How I could make my file move forward and when I could hear back. That, I'm going to give you an applause for that one, my friend, because that is the $1 million question, really. I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, Alicia, but
It's so hard. People are waiting for so long. They're having to try to make life plans. They're having to try to figure out, what are we going to do? What are their other options? So it is really hard. I guess the good thing is they are responding to web form inquiries finally. So if there's anything that might be missing or expired on your application, make sure to take a look at that. If your circumstances have changed, right? If you have a change in address, if you have a change in family member, make sure that you're notifying immigration that they still have your current contact information on file as well. This is the other thing. We have heard a few horror stories of people not checking their email or not checking their junk mail folder. And in one case, a notification had gone to their junk mail by accident and they never received it. And then that was actually a good news story in that case because the person reached out and immigration
yeah,
actually followed up and reissued the document, which
that was the
is amazing
miracle.
because it almost never
Yeah.
happens. Yep.
No, no,
Yeah.
and that's the hard part because that was the actual miracle.
Yeah.
We don't see those kinds of things happening. So, it's
So
so
check your
interesting
junk
just to
mail
see.
folder.
Yeah. Yeah. You need to stay completely on top of it. Absolutely. You do. There's just no room for not. All right. Okay. Piyush says, OINP employer job offer, scoring foreign worker. Can I get 3 points for Canadian experience for less than a year, score at 36 and have a job offer waiting for a work permit? Piyush, I'm going to do this one right here. So that is something that we would need to delve into. There's a whole lot of factors, and it's just not possible for Alicia and I to be able to give that direction within the chat. We'd like to, but we just need a whole lot more info. We recommend that you slide over and book a consult, and we always do that for people who are trying to make plans on their life. And so if you slide over here to our website, if you're looking on your handheld device, you just speak to a lawyer here. Excuse me, and you can book the consult with Alicia, with Chanel, with Susan, and I'm hiding down here at the bottom as well. I'm pretty heavily involved right now in helping to expand our Canadian Immigration Institute with a whole bunch of new offerings, and so I'm not as available to do consults as I was before, but that's why we're filling our team with awesome lawyers. So yes, so Piyush would recommend that you slide over there. Okay. And I'm going to point out here, Zakaria, my friend. No, that doesn't work, my friend. Okay. Amit says, I got my COPR and passport request approved this year after 1 year of wait. Thanks for the course. It was a game changer. All right. There's another. I love that. When past alumni of the Express Entry course, which I'm hoping to do one here in February again. I'm hoping that there's going to be a draw and that we can launch that again. But yeah, it's so cool when you guys who go and take the courses come back and give shout outs and even, yeah, thanks so much, Amit. It was a delight having you in the course and to hear that things have worked out, even though it took a while, right? Just, yeah, it's so awesome. So congratulations to you. Okay. Amin says the Ontario French stream. Okay, a good way to immigrate to Canada today for FSW immigrants. Do you think there will be a draw in the coming months? This is the magical question that we always deal with, right, Alicia?
Yeah. Yeah.
And do you have that crystal ball?
I don't have the crystal ball. And Mark, you and I had been hoping for draws in the new year, and you thought January,
I
and
failed. Oh, you had to point that
unfortunately,
out, didn't you? You had to point that out. I had said maybe mid-January, so clearly I was wrong.
I was holding out for February 14th for Valentine's Day. I thought maybe they would send some love to people, but I don't know if that's gonna be true either. So, who knows? Maybe later, second half of the year, maybe by the summer,
Yeah.
but we're not sure.
Yeah. And so you guys can follow it just like us, right? So here's the Ontario Notification of Interest. You can see here they did do a human capital priority stream draw January the 12th, and they had targeted draw priority occupations. If we go here and we just open this in a new tab, we can probably pull this up and see what happened here. Yeah, so in 19, they indicate that they reached their 2021 nomination allocation. They issued a total of 9,000 nominations, which is really high, and 400 additional nominations received through in-year reallocation. And what that means is some provinces, crazy and it's hard to believe, but through the pandemic, didn't actually use up all their spots. And so if they don't use them up, then they relinquish them back, and then the feds can redistribute them to the provinces. So clearly, people in Ontario, there's a huge, massive demand for this. And then you can see here on January the 12th, these are the occupations that were targeted. So this is broader than a traditional IT, which is an interesting development, right? Because for probably all of 2021, we saw a lot of these draws coming in just through the human capital priority, but it was more IT focused. So it was nice to see it expand. So there's 502 up here that you can see that have been issued in that round of invitation with a CRS score of 464 to 467, which is also very interesting given the fact that, if they were to open it up and do draws again, we're shooting up to the 500s. And I had a question yesterday, Alicia, from an individual who was just asking, well, what should I do? I'm sitting at about 480. I'm too high to get drawn under that. So do I do things to artificially reduce my CRS score? That's a strategy, right? And then do I hit that area right there where that sweet spot, which is really 464 to 467, is so narrow. And
Yeah.
how did they end up choosing that? So we shall see how it plays out. Okay. Okay. Drew says, "Hey, Mark and Alicia, I hope you're doing good. We are doing awesome, my friend. My study permit has expired on December the 31st, and I finished my studies, and I applied for my postgrad work permit 10 days before. So just wondering that I am eligible to work." Aha. So you answer this, and I'll show him the source of all goodness.
Okay. So, yeah, there are very specific rules on are you able to work after the end of your studies. And when you apply for that postgrad work permit really matters. So I did write an article about this. It's in one of our blog posts for the firm website, and you can go over there and check it out. But basically, your ability to continue working on your study permit ends on the first day when one of these things happened. Either you get notification of completion of your program through a letter or an email from your school, or you get your transcripts, or you get your final diploma. So this is where you can pop over and can students be working after the end of studies in Canada? This is specifically a blog article that I wrote about this because a lot of people were asking this question when the TR to PR program came out and they were trying to figure out as international grads, did they have qualifying work experience or were they actually unauthorized to work and they didn't know it? So take a look. It's important. You can work as long as you're a full-time student at a DLI and you're meeting the conditions of your study permit. But as soon as you're notified that you've completed or you've finished your studies, you cannot work at all until the day that you submit your complete postgrad work permit application and your study permit is still valid. So if in your scenario you said you already submitted your postgrad work permit, everything else should have been properly submitted before any status expired, then according to IRCC's interpretation, you can begin full-time work as long as your postgrad work permit was properly submitted until you receive a decision from IRCC, and that can count as qualifying Canadian work.
Oh, get the right screen here. Exactly. Thank you. So guys, remember, a lot of the stuff that we talk about here, we're constantly putting new, and I'll flip back here. We're putting new blog posts. We're trying to put content that's, easier for people to consume, just jumping on. And we're even now with our new video editor, breaking down some parts of these live Q&As, and we're starting to release them as podcasts and release them as more consumable little pieces. But go to our website here, and I'll shrink this down just so that people can kind of see it a little bit better. So when you go to our website here, Speak to a Lawyer, yes, resources, blog right here. This is where you can access all of that content. So you can see there's been a lot, Chanel and Alicia has really put a lot of work and effort into this. And there's posts from Igor and Susan and myself. And so this is always a source. So make sure you head over there to holthelaw.com and just check out our blog right here under the resource section. All right. Okay. Let's jump to our next question. And this one is from Harshil. And he says, thank you so much, Mark. I got my PR with my Outland spouse under CEC. I learned a lot by watching your videos. If someone tells me something, I always cross-check with your videos. I don't know how to say it, but thank you. Oh my goodness. That is awesome. That is so, so awesome. And you know what, Alicia, the interesting thing about this is I am getting more and more immigration consultants that are subscribing and joining the master classes. And, at first when I started doing all of this, I didn't know what direction it was going to go. I really didn't. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to focus primarily on applicants, just on people that are doing it themselves. But I've realized over the last little while that by helping to educate everyone, whether it's lawyers or consultants that practice in this area, and sharing my knowledge, I'm in a position where I can help. Now you're going to have your daughter come and join us because this is awesome. See, we are family people. We have children. This is awesome. And this is our world. This is great. You'll have to tell her to go give us a wave. Would she do that for us? Is she too embarrassed? Did she already run away?
She's running away.
That's awesome. But no, so I absolutely love when the immigration consultants come and join and take the course, and anything that I can do to help them raise their level of practice. And obviously, Alicia, after 18, 20 years of experience, we've learned a few things, right? And so if we can do that, that will then help them to then provide better advice to all of you as well. Open season. So thank you, Harshil. That's very, very kind. I really, really appreciate that. Okay. Parminder says, hi, I'm applied for a spousal open work permit inland. Okay. That's better than the outlands because those are just ugly. In January 2020, and they moved my file to Edmonton local office in April. I'm still waiting. No update. Oh my goodness. Okay. And I think, let's see, does Parminder have a continuation of that? I can't quite see if there is another piece to it. It kind of ends off there, but Alicia, what's going on when they do this?
So I've heard of one person who had their file moved to the Edmonton office, and generally it is not a good thing. So I always am a little bit worried when you have a spousal application and all of a sudden they say, wait a second, we've transferred processing to the Edmonton office, because normally it means they have some sort of concern about that file and they want an officer to scrutinize it a little bit more carefully. And they're probably going to be sending a request for further proof of communications or cohabitation or further proof about the genuine nature of your relationship. And that always means you got to be super careful. You've got to probably, I would recommend, book a consult, have somebody go through and review what it is that you submitted. If they've requested something, for sure, make sure that you've prepared that properly and that you're addressing their concerns, because you might not get another shot at convincing them that you've got a genuine relationship. In your case, if they just haven't asked you for anything, it's really tough to tell. It's good that you did that GCMS notes request to try to figure out what is going on with the processing of your file, but maybe be proactive and go through the application that you submitted. Hopefully you kept a copy of everything to try to get an understanding of maybe there's a gap somewhere that they're trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah. And that's, it's hard because we'll get some consults or people will say, hey, I was requested to provide a background declaration, right? And for the longest time, that was code for there is something wrong with your PR. Like there's something in your statutory declaration, you know, the statutory information section that you completed in your express entry or your TR to PR pathway, something that the officers looked at and says, this doesn't smell right. There's something wrong here. And then they ask you to go complete another Schedule A. And if you perpetuate that, you know, it may be a complete innocent, you know, misrepresentation, if you could call it that. You just didn't realize, or you forgot about a prior refusal. That's when they take that second one and just
Yes.
crush you, right? And they say, oh, 5-year bar misrepresentation. So whenever we hear of any files getting referred for secondary, you know, kind of review, we always start to get our hackles up a little bit. We start to get a little bit more concerned about, okay, what was said in there that an officer is now having issues with. So, yeah.
Because it might be that, you know, they've cross-referenced your background file and they see your refusal on a, you know, you failed to disclose a visitor refusal to the US before. And if you did that on the first, you know, Schedule A and they're wanting you to do another Schedule A, and if you walk into that same trap, you're in trouble. So, you know, sometimes it's not even something that you wrote in your initial application, it's something you failed to write in your initial application.
Yep. And that's a really, really good, really good segue. So if you, I'm going to flip over here to the screen. Many of you, if you have not watched this, get over there and watch it, because this is a video that I did with Will Tao on the new Chinook system. And this Chinook system here is a new system that the government is using to kind of triage and batch applications and kind of categorize them. And one of the things that you guys have to understand is that it's not going to be long before immigration can see everything. And it's very, very visible to them. You know, they punch in a few keystrokes and boom, your whole history is there, and it's cross-referenced already. And the officer doesn't have to go dig up some old application to see what you answered on that one. And so when you are hiring a representative or you're filing the application yourself, you absolutely need to take unbelievable care that everything is consistent and accurate. And if you're handing things over to a representative and that representative is not letting you see the final product before you submit it, that is a huge, massive warning sign, because it's not them that's going to be found to have misrepresented themselves. It's you. So you need to be very, very careful with that. And I think, Alicia, you and I have both seen this, haven't we?
Absolutely. And I have heard people say, well, you know, I don't want to tell them that maybe I have a sibling in Canada and that might affect their analysis of my ties to my home country and my ties to Canada if I'm doing a study permit application, or, you know, I'm applying for a visitor visa. No way, guys. You have to absolutely tell them the truth, because they already know the truth. They already know you have a brother or sister or sibling in Canada, because they can see it instantly on their file notes. So honesty is the only policy. You have to disclose these things. They will be able to find you out very, very quickly. So make sure it is all 100% accurate.
Yeah, you do. That is something that no longer can you mess around with. So you guys need to take control over your world. And I'll be honest, Alicia, that's one of the reasons why we created our collaborative review model within our firm. You know, we did it because we want clients that are engaged. We want clients that want to learn the why. And when you're filling out those forms, it's one thing to, you know, to just read the question and throw in an answer. But it's really important to understand why they're asking it. Because if you understand the why, then you know what to put into those questions. So that's what we do. We teach our clients, we show them how to prepare their applications. And then once everything is good to go, then we jump on and we review forensically. You know, for me, I put my old immigration officer hat on, but Alicia's been at this for so long. And we literally look through the eyes of how an officer would assess the application to identify the problem areas where people get referred back to the local office. So that's what we do. And it's so hard because they're so heartless and cruel. Like they really are. All right, let's jump to a few more. Our time is very quickly racing by here. And I know, Alicia, you are pretty slammed with work these days. You've got a lot going on. So yes, a reminder, once again, Holthe Immigration Law is looking for more lawyers to join us. So Marudi says it's a transfer due to special expertise. So it's an LMIA. Well, I love how they say Lima everybody kind of calls it. That was what it was first referred to when it first changed from LMO. People are calling it LIMA. Well, the LMIA, Labor Market Impact Assessment exemption. Any idea how long will take for NOC 2171? And the answer in the beginning was all about essential, right? And even now with their processing, as they're trying to get through the backlogs, they still have an element of certain industries where they feel it's more urgent that they get to Canada than others. But in the beginning, it was like, okay, if you're not food processing or, supply chain or things like that, then we're just not going to process. And when it comes to anything IT related, 2171 or otherwise, they they say, well, look, this is a virtual world, right? You're probably able to work from home, in India or wherever you're coming from as much as you are here. And so you're not as big of a priority, even when it is, a global skills strategy and things like that. So hard to say. I don't know if you have any any other anecdotes, Alicia, that would add to that.
No, I mean, you can try to follow up if it is a global skills application, because hopefully they should be processing that in a shorter period of time. I think you said it's been months now, right? Like six
Yeah.
months or so.
Yeah. And obviously you can go online and you can look, and yes, they have their little disclaimer there with the processing times. Like if you look, it's hard because global skills strategy is treated a little bit different. But if I just pull up right now, the processing times, and I know we can't fully rely upon these, but the reality is this is one of the sources that we can go to. So it says it's updated weekly. That's great. It still has this stupid disclaimer here, which, okay, fine, we get it. But you go here, temporary residence, you choose work permit. So work permit from outside Canada, and then where you're applying from. So if we go to India here, you can see, and we click on the processing times, do you see how massively this has exploded? And when was the last time they updated it? 2 days ago. So I know when I looked at this last, it was right around 30. So clearly you can see, guys, where, with work permits, depending on countries, like this is an eternity. Like this is so long. But the one thing I'll give them, Alicia, I would rather see 50 weeks there, which is actually accurate, than to see 14 weeks and then have them processing at a 50 week. So at least be honest and transparent, because then individuals like Maruti here can kind of gauge and balance their life and their expectations. All right. Okay. Okay. So Sugdeep, this one is a bell ringer. I'll just ring the bell, because when we get into will I be eligible, that is a consult. So slide over here to our website, and I'll just flip over, click on the link to speak to a lawyer and book that consult with Alicia or Chanel, and they can actually give you advice and direction that you can rely on to really understand what you need to do. Okay. All right. Liz, she says, can certificates from part-time jobs be considered as supporting document? Okay. So certificates. We also indicated that we saved up and did private teaching to prove funds. Is that fine? Thanks a million. What are your thoughts on,
So, I mean, you've got to prove that you do have sufficient settlement funds, and whatever proof you can provide that's authoritative and accurate. So you're going to have your bank account statements probably, and make sure that those are properly authenticated and you've got key information from your bank on there. If anything's not in English, it's got to be, or French, it's got to be translated with a certified translation. If you've got, I don't know what a certificate is in this case, but maybe
it might be a
depending on the
reference letter.
country.
I'm not sure. Something confirming the source of funds. I kind of get the chance that's the, saying, hey, I've been working and it's our employment income. Liz, they don't really get too fussed about it, as long as there isn't like this big chunk of 15,000 Canadian dollars being dumped into your account. Like if it's coming in little dribs and drabs, they know it's going to be from your income. They just want to make sure there's not some big loan that you've got from someone, because that's not acceptable, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's go here to Needy. And Needy says, okay, AOR November 2019, no updates yet. Away from partner for 2 years. My heart breaks when I hear this stuff. I don't know about you, Alicia, but I couldn't be away from Deanna for a month.
No.
But 2 years, it's heartbreaking. Should I wait for a remedical request or look for job offers? What would that even help now? Now, what are your thoughts on that, Alicia?
Uh, I mean, I'm not sure about the whole circumstances of your situation, right? I don't know who's where and what kind of status you have, and I don't know if you're inside or outside Canada, who's where. Um, Job offers are generally helpful if you're wanting to try to maintain your status if you're inside Canada and you want to try to get something that's employer specific. So that's almost always helpful. Um, I mean, maybe you can do a new medical proactively if you don't care about those fees, and it's fine for you to do that. But it is taking a long time right now. And as we've heard from other people, they've gone through 3 medical requests, right? So you might just have to keep retaking those, but at least make sure your passport's still valid, make sure you've got your other documents in order. And I don't know where your spouse is or if it's possible to find some way that you might be able to apply for some sort of visitor visa in the meantime. We're hoping that that mandate letter is going to result in some sort of actual traction in terms of, if you have people who are doing spousal applications, they can bring their spouses. Um, I'm assuming you were doing one of the express entry applications, though. Hi, Simba.
Apparently, he wants to look out the window, and I better go lift the blinds up.
So yeah, this is really hard when people are having to be separated from their spouses for so long and their families.
All right. Sorry about that little interlude there. I guess we all have entertaining things happening. Simba sits out right beside me here. You can see the window, the light coming in from the window, and he loves to watch everybody that comes by and randomly kind of whenever he sees someone that apparently doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't like. He's a kind dog, but he's quite funny. He doesn't have the capacity to hurt anyone, that's for sure. But that's our Simba. Okay, I want to jump over here. Ame, I want to give you a shout out and say thank you. He said, "Good morning, Mark and Alicia. Hope you're both well and sound. I've shared this broadcast link with other fellow applicants as well. Very informative. So big applause for you. That's all we're asking, right? Like we want this to spread to the entire world. And yeah, and we're working on ways to make that happen. Ame also has this question. So he says he's a federal skilled worker, Outland, India. Yes, Bachelor of Engineering from the UK, postgrad diploma in Canada. Okay, this is a hard one. So left Canada after the I think that's probably postgrad work permit and applied for EE from India. Is my study history delaying the process? Shall I keep providing updated PCCs? So yeah,
I
I
don't
don't
think your
think there's
study
any
permit,
connection.
no, I don't think the study history should delay the process at all. I'm assuming that you relied on that for points as part of your express entry application. And so as long as you've proven that you completed that diploma from Canada and it was a designated learning institution and you've got your um, transcripts and your diploma proof in there, that shouldn't be delaying things. I mean, updated PCCs, maybe. I guess you could have those on file just in case so they don't have to ask for them again. It can't hurt. But I don't know when you had applied, so we're not quite sure how many years or how many months it's been, but it doesn't seem like the study history in Canada should be delaying the process.
Yeah, I don't think so either. All right. Callum, this is my absolute favorite picture in the world. So Callum has been a follower of us for a long time, client, everything else. And yeah, that is so awesome. I love that picture, Callum. You have to tell me the story of that one day. I'm assuming it's one of those paint, what do they call those, Alicia? Those runs? Color,
Yeah, where
I can't
you
remember.
just get bombed by colors at the
Yeah,
end.
it's like this powdered paint. Anyways, so very cool. So he says, is there a possibility of job focused EE draws that they might come with benefits like reduced amount for proof of funds, especially if the job markets for these roles are higher than others? Question of a friend. And so,
Hmm.
what are your thoughts on that? I think obviously, what is a job offer, right? That's the driving force behind this question.
Yeah. And so be careful with what is a job offer because a lot of people may have tried to claim arranged employment points and they actually don't have the requirements for what a job offer is in that arranged employment world. I would doubt that they would change who requires proof of funds because federal skilled workers require proof of funds, and that's set out by legislation, whereas CEC applicants do not require proof of funds. So if it's something that's legislatively set, then it's much harder for the government to try to change it. If it's something that it's purely in the ministerial instructions, that's much easier for them to tweak and to shift a little bit, because they just set out a new ministerial instruction, which is an addendum to the legislation rather than having to actually pass new legislation.
Excellent. All right, there you go. Okay, let's jump down to our next one. Okay, so SSV says, I'm an Outland CEC. Okay, so they had their experience, then left. Also received email from for confirm whether I am in Canada. Aha. TRV now expired. Can only return if I get passport. Request. When asked IRCC, they asked to contact the local visa center, but they in turn asked to contact IRCC. I think this one is one of these ones, Alicia. I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, back and forth rigmarole that we're experiencing with this.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that comes to mind is possibly if you haven't updated your address history, right? If you've left Canada and you didn't tell them where you are, or what your current address is now, it's possible that they're trying to figure out if you're an overstay in Canada. So that might be what's going on, but we'd need more information to figure out, where are you at in the process right now?
Yeah. Okay. So slide over, book that consult, and we can give you a hand with that one. Okay. So Bhavan here, this is an interesting question. He says, just want to know about BC PNP Express Entry and how long it takes for final decision, as I know Express Entry usually takes 6 months, but BC PNP Express Entry takes much longer. So if you just go over to the BC PNP website, they actually are pretty good about listing their processing times. And so you can see here that the estimated times are about 2 to 3 months. Now, this varies. It does. If they're having trouble verifying anything in your application, it can push it to a little bit longer. But generally speaking, for Express Entry BC, they're pretty good. It's right around this range. Now, I don't know if they've updated this with a timestamp. Many of the PNPs don't do that like IRCC does. So, but I think we have to assume that that's probably pretty close. So we'll share that one so you guys can have access to that. Just Google BC PNP processing times, and it'll pull it up for you, Bhavan, as well, and you can kind of track it. Yeah, as far as the processing times, yes, Express Entry is still a whole lot faster going through those streams with the PNPs than it is the paper-based or the new PR
Skills.
portal. Yeah, because you're looking at, I think the last, and I sure hope these are accurate, but for the PNPs, 15 to 19 months, that's their service kind of level standard. And with the Express Entry and the spousals, they've said, we will process 6 months. We will process 12 months. And now they're running into problems because they can't meet that. But with the PNPs, it's always been much longer if it's outside of the Express Entry stream. So, yep, that's time you have to factor in. Okay, let's see. Next here, let's see. I keep jumping too fast. Okay. So here's one. So Sugdeep says, hi, Alicia. I just want to know if the Ontario French PNP is not codependent like the Human Capital Priority Stream. And I think, Alicia, for this one, I think like one of the things I've been asked to do is write a book on this stuff with Andrew. And so I think lots of people have been asking about the Ontario French PNP program. And I think what we'll do is we'll have a separate video on this topic, and then we'll go through and we'll just kind of have the highlights and share insight on it. I think that would be really helpful for people. So unless you've got something to add, why don't we do a separate video on this topic? Does that sound right?
Sure.
Okay, we'll do that. Okay, Nidhi says, applied from India and he is in Montreal. Okay, this is the challenging part when we've got just bits and pieces, because I'm trying to remember what the previous question was. Okay.
This is the spouse. They were separated for 2 years.
That's right. Okay, yes. Yeah. So FSW Outland from India, partners is in Montreal. So I don't know, does that change anything from the original question that was asked? Other than it's just painful. As far as options, I don't know.
So maybe she's asking if she can get a job offer, come on a work permit, and then hopefully get reunited with spouse. So yeah, I mean, ideally, yes, but if they need to do an LMIA and then you're submitting an overseas work permit application and you've got a 50-month processing time, not going to help a ton probably practically.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really tough. Okay, let's keep zipping down here and then we'll get to the next question. All right, so this one's from Pertosh and we're into overtime. Alicia, how are you doing for time? Do you have another consult right now? Okay.
I've got a couple minutes.
Okay, so stop doing super chats, you guys. Stop doing them because we're going to run out of time here. Okay, so applied for a student visa in September for January intake, and I haven't got any decision. My medical is updated since the 23rd of November. What can be done? Another question, right? Another one that's,
Yeah. Yeah. And this is the thing, right? You start your studies if you haven't been approved for a study permit. So make sure you're not studying without authorization. Usually the school won't allow you anyways, but just make sure that you haven't begun anything. Um, there are long processing times. I just checked on the outside Canada processing time. If you're not looking at the student direct stream, it's 12 weeks right now. So make sure that you're looking at those study permit applications well in advance. I do a lot of consults with people
absolutely. Yep.
who are looking at the study permits. I'm going to actually write a blog article about this because I want to do a whole blog article about red flags on study permits and things that you should consider, or reasons that you may not get your study permit approved, because there's a lot of competition for study permits right now with no FSW or CEC draws. Everybody is applying for a study permit
Yeah.
application,
Yeah.
and immigration is being ruthless, and they're also quickly screening a whole bunch of people out for study permits.
Yeah.
So, please be careful with your study permit application. Make sure to give yourself enough time before your course of your
Yeah.
program is supposed to start.
Yeah, as much as you possibly can. And it's hard because there's a lot of parties involved in this industry, right? You've got
Yeah.
education agents who get paid, by the schools to connect them, which is, there's a lot of really, really good education agents out there, but there's a lot of impetus and a lot of motivation for even the schools to be issuing, admissions when the timing is really, really tight. And
Yeah.
so the more time you can give, the absolute better. Absolutely. Okay. Ferris says, applied for CEC last year in August. After I met all the requirements and sent in the application, I quit my job because it was miserable. I informed IRCC about this. Will it impact my application? And Ferris, this happens a lot. It happens a lot. Alicia,
Yeah.
thoughts?
So I assume that by the time you applied for CEC, you had already gained your required Canadian work experience. So whatever it was that you had as work experience when you applied, you have to prove. And then going forward, generally, if you're CEC, it might be that you're trying to figure out how to maintain your status in Canada. Maybe you're still in Canada and you quit your job and now you're trying to look for a new work permit. So the trick here is that you have to maintain your status. You can't fall out of status and be illegal if you continue to stay in Canada. Um, but in terms of your prior work experience, as long as you've informed immigration that you quit the job, you're not misrepresenting what's happening right now, that's good. But if you want to stay in Canada and you want to continue to work or switch work permits or find a new employer, and that new employer is going through an LMIA process, um, take a look, guys. The website is really hard to navigate. So I spent a whole bunch of time yesterday looking through the public policies for workers, and there is a temporary public policy. There's two temporary public policies right now to facilitate the transition of people who have a current valid work permit, whose employer's gotten an LMIA or they're switching to a new employer or a new occupation, to apply for interim work authorization to get that new job, to be able to work in that new job even before you get your work permit approved, because the work permit in Canada processing times are about 4 months at least right now. So a whole bunch of things have to happen for you to be able to use that policy. It does expire by February 28th, 2022. So that's something you might want to consider if you're looking at a new employer who does have an LMIA and you've submitted that work permit application. There's a specific way that you can ask for interim authorization to transition. But otherwise, you might need to book a consult to figure out what your other options are for maintaining your status, depending on when your documents expire.
Yeah. And it wouldn't surprise me with what the current state of affairs, Alicia, if they actually extend that. So we'll see what happens. We never know for sure. Half the time they do it quietly, don't without any fanfare, and we're left digging through the website for hours trying to find the answers, right? So, and can you imagine, Alicia, people that, are not familiar with this process, who are not legally trained, who are trying to
Well,
understand what these things mean?
and the funny thing, Mark, was when I was trying to find this temporary public policy, there was a
Yeah,
note on the IRCC website that said they had to reorganize all of their website because officers couldn't find the answer.
that's hilarious. That is hilarious. It does not surprise me at all. All right. Liz says, Dear Mark and Alicia, thank you for your support and help in the darkest days of waiting for the final decision. I'll give you an applause there, although it's probably more of a quiet clap of support and reassurance. I need different kinds of claps here, but thank you for all of, for everything that you guys do to support us. We're here to provide a Q&A that actually gives you information that you can trust. But at the end of the day, if no one showed up, this wouldn't happen. And so, Alicia, we're up to, we're over 200 at one point that we're watching live here. And so thank you guys so much. And we're into hour 2. Like, this is an hour and 12 minutes. So let's zip through the last few ones here. And if you need to drop off, Alicia, I can stick around. Those of you who are on here, I actually am going to stick around a little bit longer, and I'm going to make sure that I get to people that are asking questions, that are not super chat. So I want people to get some help. And so I'm going to stick around a little bit longer, and this one will be a little bit longer video, but whatever. Okay. So how can I get a copy of documents submitted by my consultant for a study permit in 2017? Because I think he used fake documents without my permission.
Oh no. So you can request or get somebody in Canada to request GCMS notes for you. Do that access to information and privacy request and ask for a complete copy of the electronic file. The difficulty is, if that was a paper application and it's not scanned, those are taking a really long time to get back. This is the risk, guys. If you have a shady consultant or person who filed an application and used fake documents and you didn't know what happened, you weren't in control of submitting that application, there's a lot of case law. Immigration doesn't care. They say it's too bad for you if you hired somebody who submitted fraudulent documents. You're on the hook for that still, because you are deemed to have ought to have known what's being submitted on your application because you hired that person. So do what you can. I mean, of course, ask them for a copy of the documents that were submitted. If that's not likely to be something that they're going to provide to you, then try to get your access to information and privacy requests, because at least you can see what's on the electronic file. That'll probably give you some more information. If you have really strong proof, or you really think that they used fraudulent documents and you've got some good indication of what those fraudulent documents are, then it is possible to contact IRCC. They do have a department that will investigate fraud. And if you think that there is fraud and you don't declare it, it's not going to go well for you. So it's probably going to be better if you have evidence of fraud to report that, and then immigration officers, CBSA, can do an investigation into it.
But it's tough. You are fully responsible for who you retain, who you hire to help you with your application. And I know many of you overseas have agents in your home countries that provide the assistance for a fee illegally. And what interest do they have in being honest and compliant? They will do everything in their power to give you the impression that they get their applications approved when others don't. And why is that? Well, it could be because they are just loading your application with fake information that they think immigration isn't going to dig into. But like we talked about earlier, this is all interconnected, and it's only going to become more and more this way. So please be careful. And know who your representative is. We're hopeful that the consultant regulator is going to have some teeth and are going to actually go after bad actors. But if you're outside of the country, the agent's outside of the country, there's not much that can be done. And if they submitted some fake document for you, the local immigration enforcement and our RCMP and police are not going to go hunting someone down in another country. They just don't have the jurisdiction to be able to do that. So in many instances, if you want protection, make sure that they're connected to Canada, that they have offices here, and that they are fully regulated, licensed with a law society or the consultant regulator. And then you have a means of going back if there is something, because that submitting fake documents, whether you're a lawyer, consultant, like that would get you would lose your license.
Yeah.
So that's the protection. Okay, I'm going to just continue here just a little bit, Alicia, with this is the one with SSV when she was talking about, receiving the email for, this back and forth between the entities. She says here, I'm in India and have detailed email with IRCC about that. And then she says that in the application address, it's in India, and also explained it in the email to IRCC when they contacted the temporary resident visa basically was still valid. This is so common, and it's just a product of the just the disarray that is currently existing behind the curtain with IRCC and their communication.
Yeah. So just really clearly setting out what you said before, what the documents are, where you've uploaded it, who you've sent it to, and then just have a consistent package that you can give back to immigration so that they can check all the boxes and kind of go through the process of who said what when, and it's all consistent, it's all there for them, and eventually, hopefully, an officer will read through the chain and figure out what's happening.
You bet. Okay, so last one here. Student and work permit eligibility passed and passport request pending November 1st on GCMS, but what can we do to get the email? So this is very similar to a lot of the other questions that we've had about things stalled out with immigration.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know when their studies start, so this is a tough
Yeah,
thing, right? Like,
yeah,
um, what I have had happen to some people is that they actually get approved and then something happens and they can't actually come to that term of studies. So, immigration is generally going to make you reapply for a new study permit if your studies have actually started. But hopefully, if your studies are not set to start until maybe the spring session, right? Maybe you've got another few months, or maybe the fall session. I don't know what your program beginning time is, but you can send them a web form. You can upload proof of everything, the letter from immigration that said that you passed your eligibility and that you were approved in principle, and just say you're ready, right? Here's all your documentation. You're ready to go. Can you please follow up? But there's not a lot else right now that it's a black box. Immigration doesn't have a whole bunch of
yeah,
ability to connect with any human individuals right now.
yeah. All right. Well, Alicia, did you want to drop off now, or what did you want to keep going? We have a couple more questions. Well, who am I kidding? There's hundreds of questions. Matasar says, can you help me file a mandamus for AOR 12th of November 2020? This is actually a good, maybe you can provide some insight on this, Alicia. Is it possible if there is a genuine reason, does that increase chances of refusal? What's your confidentiality policy? So maybe you could just
So
touch briefly and we'll wrap up with this, because lots of people whose applications are stalled out, that's, mandamus, whatever you want to call it. That's what that's the
yeah.
question that they have.
So generally for a mandamus application, the federal court is looking at what was the last material step that immigration took. And based on the case law, it tends to be 5 years. So there needs to usually have been a 5-year period in a lot of the cases between the last material step that immigration took and the delay. And so if your application was filed November 12th, 2020, there's nowhere near 5 years since the last material step that immigration has taken. So generally, this is a really tough case to try to bring a mandamus application to federal court, because you have to prove that there's really an egregious reason for the delay that's outside of the norm. And the norm right now, unfortunately, is to have a very significant delay. I mean, we've had a lot of people on today that they've filed their applications in 2019, right? So they're well before this. Um, a serious, genuine reason, I mean, in terms of federal court applications, there's a very high bar, right? You've got to get the court to agree that there is a significant administrative failure that's been made by immigration. So it's not something that you can get outright or that you can get easily. And of course, whenever we're looking at these, we need to understand all the specifics of your case, why you think that there's something that is grounds for mandamus. In terms of our confidentiality policy, we're lawyers, so we have a
Yeah.
fiduciary duty, meaning we cannot provide anybody's identifying characteristics or information. Um, unless we're specifically authorized to do so, we have to maintain confidentiality with our clients.
Yeah, exactly. Great. Well, thank you, Alicia. Thanks a lot for being here. We'll let you go, and I'll spend a few more minutes here just answering a few questions. I want to tackle a couple issues that I'm seeing in the comment section, but you don't need to be here to see the blood and carnage that's going to purvey here. So thanks for being here. And like I said, you guys, if you didn't get your question answered, I'm going to stick around and answer a few ones. A few more. Really, we're into OT here. This is a lot of time we've spent. But Alicia is available. Head on over to our website, book a consult, and Alicia can guide you through literally whatever your issue is. All right. Thanks, Alicia.
Thanks so much, Mark.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
All right. So we'll let Alicia disappear from us here. And yeah, it's interesting. I've just been kind of following the comments and a couple of things I want to point out, and then I'll pull up the comments that I've kind of been watching. It's one of the advantages I have while I'm doing this and having Alicia answer the questions is I can go through the comments. And so there's so much information out there, so much misinformation, and so much unknown about this entire processing of express entry. And there's a number of people that have been indicating, that there's going to be no FSW draws all year. So we've seen that. There have been others that have said that there's going to be CEC draws, at some point in time. And I believe myself that there's a good chance that there is. But one thing I will point out is that no one knows with 100% degree of certainty exactly what the government's going to do. How do I know or say the things that I know? Well, it's because of, all right, come on. Okay, down you go. There you go, buddy. Sorry about that. How do I know or say the things that I know? Like some people come on the channel and they've got their own opinions, and I'm so grateful for people that have their own opinions. So we'll take our good friend here. Let's pull it up, and I'll give you a shout out because why not? Why not is the question. So Ankit says, excuse me, what? There will be no CEC draws? And then he starts getting snarky here. And he says, I guess you're not with CIC. It seems like the way you talk. Okay. So one of the things that I'll point out is that I am not with immigration. I'm not. But what I do have is numerous meetings. And I don't know if there's too many other people that have opportunities to be as close to immigration as I do. Having just finished as the national chair of the Canadian Bar Association. And I attend the meetings with CAPIC, the Consultant Association, with Acadie, and then on behalf of the fellow immigration lawyers that are part of the Canadian Bar Association's immigration section. So in the midst of those conversations, I have lots of opportunities to connect with the head immigration officials. A lot of the things that we talk about are things that are confidential, that they want our feedback and information on, but they specifically don't want us to share. Other times, there is information that we can share. And so I do everything in my power to try to share at least the insight that I have to help people get a general idea. And it's not just me guessing. So a lot of the things when it comes to, and we'll just go through the whole process here. So they should forever cancel CEC. And then Ankit says there's a draw next month. Okay, that's great, Ankit. There could very well be one. But then Ankit finishes off with this nice comment, which is, FSW is canceled this year. Mark is just gathering his subscribers and watchers. Well, I want to thank you, Ankit, for being one of those watchers, for expressing your views and everybody. This is a free, open opportunity for people to say whatever they want. Personally, you're wrong about the FSW is canceled this year. No one has ever said that. And in my meeting with the minister, and Ankit, maybe you want to go back and watch the video that I did yesterday, in the meeting that we had with Minister Fraser, he reiterated that that would not be the case and that they would not go the whole year without an FSW. Now, what that looks like is a whole different thing. But I do want to try to address this because this is just a classic example of, the power of social media, the power of YouTube, the power of anyone going on and making a statement. Like, how do you verify it? How do you verify even what I'm saying, right? Obviously, as a Canadian immigration lawyer, have a certain level of standard that I have to adhere to. I can't just randomly be saying this is going to happen and this is going to happen without some foundation for it. So it always concerns me, because how do you know who you can trust? And that's why I created this channel. That's why I created the Express Entry Law private Facebook group. That's why I created the DIY courses where I could get in and actually teach people. And that's why we as a law firm represent people in a very creative way through our collaborative review process, where you maintain control, where we teach you and collaboratively we put together your application so that you get it right the first time. And but I'm very mindful that other people have other views. They have other thoughts on the process. They have their ideas, and that's totally fine. And do I want to increase my subscribers on this channel? Yes, I do. Do I want to increase my viewers? Yes, I do. I want the whole world to listen to what I'm saying. I want the whole world to benefit, right? That is what's important to me. And so, I just want to express thanks, whether people agree with what I say or what they don't, that's totally fine. I'm just appreciative that you're here, that you're contributing, that you're, posting your comments. And so, yeah, so let's dive in. So those of you who have been faithful and stuck around, post your comments and let's work through them. I'll hit this last one from Arshdeep. Don't do any more super chats. Just don't do them anymore. And let me try to get through the questions. So I'm in Canada and I need info that he used in my background information section. Yes. Yeah. Cause I need background info for PR. Yes. Arshdeep. We understand that, in all honesty, like book a consult. Let's go back and see what we can figure out, because you have every right to be concerned about this. You just can't take any chances with immigration, and the consequences of having some fraudulent document attached to your file are massive. And understand as well that you're responsible, Arshdeep, whether that person showed you the file before they submitted it or not. You paid them the money. They got you the result, and immigration says whether you were willfully knowing or willfully blind to the fraud, you are fully responsible until you take action to try to resolve it. Okay. All right. So we got some thanks here, and I guess Marie saw Simba running across there. Okay. Jay says, would there be any other pathway for healthcare workers or on work permit or refugee undocumented? Going to be tough, but that is something. You remember Minister Mendicino last year had made some comments about trying to figure out a way, if there was a way to do the Guardian Angel program out of Quebec, in a similar way, maybe across the country for people that are undocumented. And it comes through a whole different process, right? So some people come in and make the refugee claims and get their open work permits and they work. Other people are truly undocumented because you fall out of status because of the inability to maintain work, and if there's no draws. So all of that is going on. So yeah. So George, thank you. He says, Mark, for taking every question and comment. Thank you. Oh no, don't worry guys. I'm not discouraged at all. I'm not discouraged at all. You can't, if you don't have some people that are haters that are coming on your channel, then you're not doing things right. If you're not saying anything of any value or anything, then people don't care. But when you're passionate about something and you hold yourself out, sometimes people resent that. Like they resent the fact that you are having success, and there's always going to be people out there. And I'll tell you guys, my little office here, my little, all of the effort that I've put in, and I kind of liken it to fruit farming, or maybe even olive, creating an olive orchard. You spend so much time planting and harvesting and cultivating and fertilizing and pruning right before the fruit is ever realized. And that's what's happening. And I've spent probably 4 years doing this, to arrive at the place that I'm at now. And I'm not concerned about consultants or lawyers, replicating what I'm doing, because no one in their right mind would have spent so much time, the time that I did, just giving with no expectation of return for so many years. And now that return is coming, and I'm really excited about it. So no, I don't, I'd love, and I'll encourage all of you to like and subscribe. And whenever we have the notification of upcoming videos, make sure you ring that bell, and so you can get notified when the live goes, because you guys are everything to me. So don't worry about that. And I appreciate all your so very kind comments. You're so right. Kanav, you are so right. People are so stressed out. They're just desperately wanting to know what they're going to do. And so, yeah. And so I don't worry too much about the haters, but I wanted to just point out just that even people that don't necessarily agree or frustrated, I want them here. I want them to be a part of this. I want them to feel free to express their concerns and their opinions. And I do not have like all of the intel on immigration or the future of where it's going. You know, I use my best judgment to make, you know, predictions just like everybody else does. And I can be wrong just like everybody else. But the one thing that no one can question is my desire to help people. So thank you for those very, very kind comments. Okay, Arati says, it is a good time to apply for PR from within the country with 1 year work experience within Canada, currently on a work permit. You know what? You guys are going to absolutely put your profiles in. You're going to apply through every work permit, every PR program that you can get your hands on, every opportunity you can to expand and cast your net as broadly as possible. That's what you need to do. Remember last year, we don't know what immigration is going to do. In my meetings with Minister Mendicino, he asked us, me and my fellow table officers when I was national chair, to provide some feedback to him. We quickly turned around this list of things that could be done through huge contributions from Ravi Jain, from Kyle Heineman, and we've gone through and I'm trying to remember everybody else that was there. Probably Ravi, me, Kyle, and Alicia. Lisa was there. And so we turned that around really quickly for him. And number 2 on the list was to lower the score for CRS. Who in the right mind would have imagined it would have dropped down to 75 and 27,332 people receiving ITAs? So every case, if you've got a shot, put it in. There's no harm in putting it in. Yes, there's a cost to a language test. Yes, there's a cost to an ECA, but that is just, if you're serious and you really, really want to be in a position to do it, have those things ready. And many people wanted to get through the TR to PR pathway, right? Who never had that opportunity because they didn't have their language tests up to date. So yeah, that's the one piece of advice that I give you. Okay, Hitesh says, I came to know that my PR application is on hold as the visa officer was waiting for documents. I submitted the same via web form, but application is still on hold. What should I do? Hitesh, it's a waiting game. You can follow up, make sure, hey, officer, you've got your stuff now. Remember, the minister confirmed with me last week that now they're back into actually meaningfully responding to those web form updates and to the call center and the calls. Now they're working through their backlog. FIFO, first in, first out. That is what they're what they're working through. So you guys should start to see things improve. Okay. Kanava says, you've been the best. Thanks. You're very, very welcome. Okay. Tech Draw Kartik. That's a good question. What's going to happen? I just showed the OINP. They did a human capital priority and they choose occupations that are outside of that. Will the express entry system modify where there's points given for IT workers? Maybe. Alberta's created their tech draw. And this is another thing that I want to point out where I get information, I try to share it. That's the thing. I don't hoard it and say, look, you have to book a consult with me or I'm not going to tell you anything. I don't say, well, the only way you're going to get the benefit is if you hire our firm. No, I share everything that I get. And I have a meeting with the program manager for the Alberta Immigrant Nominee Program. It's all a part of, this book that I'm getting ready to write with my other friend Andrew, that is going to be about the economic programs. And so I'll keep you guys posted as that unfolds this year. But when it comes to the tech draw, whether it's Alberta or Ontario or wherever it may be, I have a meeting on the February the 1st with the program manager for the ANP, and I will be right on here to share what I learned. Okay. Okay, so Rose says, should people with a postgrad work permit expiring in like June 2023 be worried? I don't think so, Rose. I think you're going to be okay. That's a good question. Okay, Tanya says, there will always be people criticizing. You're doing such an impeccable work for people here. A big thanks for us all. Thanks, Tanya. I appreciate that. And all of your support and all of the love that I feel. And trust me, it goes both ways. You guys just, you make my day. And like I was telling the people in the spousal sponsorship course, which I've got a bunch of consultants. I have a bunch of applicants that are in there. And if I flip my screen over here, I guess we've got, not that one, this one. There. Okay. You'll see I have within the courses here, this spousal sponsorship. My goodness. I have that at the end of the day, 5 to 6 p.m. Mountain Time is when the masterclass is going on this week. And it is so much fun. Oh my goodness. I absolutely love it. It is just, I don't know. It's hard to explain how much I love teaching. You know, as a former high school teacher, I thought that was a part of my life that I'd have to leave behind when I became a lawyer, but it's not. And so those courses, Express Entry, I'm hoping to relaunch in February. So head on over to the page. Those of you, one of the best things that you guys can do is to go over here. And once this is, like it says, get the course now, because there's still time. If people do want to jump in, I just give them extra help and support. You can still join the spousal sponsorship course, but Express Entry, you can click on here to learn more. And then once you're here, you can watch the videos and everything else, but you can reserve your spot and you can get notified the moment that I open up the cart for Express Entry. But this stuff is just, it's the highlight of my day. And that's why I'm hiring these other lawyers. You know, I've interviewed so many lawyers, you guys. These are immigration lawyers. And they're just, it's really hard to find the right fit. They have to be wired like myself and Alicia and Chanel and Susan. And so I've got some awesome lawyers that are going to be adding and joining Holthe Immigration Law. But this is what it's all about, providing as much or as little support as you guys need. Okay, let's keep jumping through here. So yeah, it's a good time to apply for PR from within the country with 1 year work experience. Just like I said, yes, do it again. When should we be expecting OINP French Stream draw? That is a mystery. We don't know. The OINP just did that draw. Are they going to do an IT only draw? Are they going to have IT occupations on the list? Those are answers that we don't know. Okay, Sam says, Mark, you've been doing a great job. I'm actually disappointed people would say that. Thank you. Oh no, don't worry about it, Sam. No, I welcome it. I really, really welcome it. I am not perfect. And even when I need to be called out, sometimes I say things and, I don't think them through. Not like I have a lot of time to think things through, but I welcome that. So those individuals are fully free to come here and say whatever they like. That's what this is about. So, okay. Hitesh says, I came to know that my tier to PR application is on hold as the visa officer was waiting for a doc. I submitted the same by web form, still on hold. Oh, it looks like we got some duplication here. What should I do? Just pending. Yeah, it's a waiting game, my friend. It's a waiting game. So as long as you've updated it, they're going to go through it. Okay. Next, Express Entry CEC draw. It could happen anytime, right? It could, like they could do another CEC right away. But personally, myself, I don't think we're going to see too much in terms of those draws until mid-year. That's kind of where I'm kind of siding with, is mid-year, because of all of those things that I talked about in that memorandum. And I went through that in detail. I know that the minister is going to be moving forward. He's mindful. He's asked us to provide some direction on pathways, additional pathways for people. And it's exciting to be able to offer our thoughts that directly impact on the direction that the government is going to go. So I'll be honest, when I drop off the table this year in September, off of the table as a table officer for the CBA National Immigration Section, I will miss it. I really will. Jay, you're very, very welcome. Let's see. Miguel says, Miguel. Awesome. Miguel, where are you from? Where are you from, Miguel? He says, thanks for taking the time to do these. If a working holiday visa applicant applies for an LMIA work permit before it expires, can they continue working during processing? Yes, they can. As long as you submit that work permit application before your working holiday expires, absolutely you can. And I deal with a lot of people who have their employers actually, they direct them over here to our website to then take the LMIA course. And for a fraction of what the cost is of hiring a lawyer in the beginning stages, they can learn a lot about the process themselves and then make the decision how much or how little support or help that they want. And right now I'm charging $300 for that course, and for most employers, that's a great starting point for going down this LMIA path, or at least understanding how it works and what they need to do. So, yep, if you filed it before, you submitted that work permit application before the previous one expired, then yep, you're good to go. Okay, what are the chances, Venkat says, of international students' work permit extensions? When can we expect an update from IRCC? Watch, hang in there. I think, like I said, when my discussion with the minister, it was very clear that he was mindful of you guys. So let's watch and see. I'm in a working group that's providing advice and our submissions on some possibilities. One of the things, Venkat, that I've talked about is I'd really love to see them reopen up the LMI exempt not exempt, but the advertising exemption within the foreign worker program. They used to have a program for postgraduate students, LMIAs, where if they were a postgrad student, their permit was expiring, then the employer could apply for an LMIA that was advertising exempt, which basically means they didn't have to prove that there wasn't a Canadian who could do the job. And that's what I'm advocating for. They could do another 18-month postgrad extension, but all things are open. And the minister, he said that he's open to all suggestions. So even if you guys have ideas and suggestions, please drop them here. Jay says, I've learned a lot from you. Good and looking out for others who really need answers and help. Thank you. I really appreciate that, Jay. That means a lot, you guys. It really does. Because I know when people say things that are negative or things like that, it's, you guys have my back. I don't even have to say anything. I know just from the comments, right? But it's important that it's open. And one of the things I hate in our world right now, I absolutely hate it, is this cancel culture. And, people need to have the freedom to be able to express their views. We may not always agree with what everybody says, but we can be kind. We can be open. We can listen. We can understand. I've got friends across all walks of life, and we don't always see things eye to eye. But one thing we can do is we can be civil, and there's a real lack of civility on all sides of the equation. And so just kindness. Okay. Marie says, when can we expect a live session on the Ontario? Yes, French speaking. Another PNP for French speaker candidates, please. Many thanks. Yes. Maybe what I'll do is maybe I'll just pull in some other guests on my Immigration Nation, and we'll add that to the list. I know Alicia and I were talking about that. Okay, Zakaria, like, subscribe, love, Mr. Mark. Thank you. And please do. Please go to the channel and subscribe. It helps me to get a bigger reach with YouTube. Obviously, the key to the success of this channel, you can see the ones that have a lot more subscribers. Well, those subscribers are not the loyal followers and the people who truly care about this content like you guys are. And it means so much to me that you guys are here, that you're watching this video, that you're with me for, my goodness, we were an hour and 42 minutes here. And so, I know that the subscribers that I have actually care about what I'm saying. I'm not just producing fun, entertaining videos, that someone watches and then subscribes and moves on and never watches another thing. You guys actually care about what I'm talking about, because who in their right mind would ever listen to a 1 hour long Q&A? Now, with that being said, I've got some big plans. Another one is that I'm going to do a separate little channel that's more a personal channel. I'm going to move my stuff out, my fishing and things that I have in here, and move them to a separate channel. The name is still be to decided, but just where I can share my thoughts and share what's going on with me in my life, and I just find it very therapeutic for me to just talk through things. And I'm the kind of person that loves feedback, and I love to hear how you guys are doing, and just build kind of a big massive online family, I guess is the best way to describe it. Okay, Sam says, hey, Mark, do you think Minister Fraser will introduce temporary measures in his mandate letter in February? Worried as my postcard was expiring in April. Yes. Remember that he said, yes, February 13th, I think, that week is when the levels plan is really what's going to come out. So remember, the mandate itself from the Prime Minister, that's been released. And so that's kind of given him the parameters of what his priorities are. But the levels plans are what's going to help him to determine and understand exactly where things are going to go and what he can do and how much flexibility he has within the programs, because he's constrained by those. But one thing he made clear to me is that they are not reducing the levels plans. In fact, they are going to be increasing. And in fact, the levels that they had last year, that 401k, I think they went for 406,000. So they went above that level that they were shooting for. So you bet. And trust me, the moment you hear anything, I will tell you. Okay, Mark, you serve a good mission. Much appreciated. Thank you. I appreciate that. Good day to you too, Ali. Yes, Zakaria, I will definitely keep going. You provide hope, mate. That's what it's helping during pandemic. You bet. Thanks so much for that, you guys. Okay, Henry says, I got offered admission from Toronto School of Management, and they said I will get a study permit decision between 4 to 5 weeks. I'm applying from Nigeria, and I'm in the E pool with 472. Is this okay? I can tell you, Henry, that one of the things that really came up in my last meeting with immigration is the massively high refusal rates from Africa. Like we're talking almost 100% refusals in some countries. And that is systemically a major issue. The prime minister, the minister has addressed that that's something that they're looking into. So Henry, understand you've got a very, very steep hurdle, and decisions between 4 to 5 weeks. Yeah, they do that because they're refusing everything. And so be prepared, my friend, that, study permits from Africa are extremely, extremely hard to get. And it's something that lots of people, even class action lawsuits, they're considering because of the systemic problem that is existing right now with those study permits getting refused. But like Alicia said, you guys, immigration all across the board has had massive surges in requests for study permits. And they can't take everybody, and they will find ways to refuse. And so this is something we're working with our clients all the time on to maximize your chance of success, because they can't just refuse because, they don't like you. They have to have grounds for it. So in our application process, and when we do our collaborative reviews with our clients, and in the course that I'm going to be creating, we're going to give you tips and strategies to maximize what you've got, to present it in a way that really locks things up so that there are fewer opportunities for an officer to refuse. And if they do, then we take it to federal court and we file a leave application for review. Okay. So we'll keep going down here. Still waiting answers, brother. Please, temporary visitor visa, is it processed in the country of applicant? Yeah, so temporary visitor visas, anything that's online can be processed anywhere. Ultimately, if you're in a country that requires a visa, it has to be processed and issued in the country in which you're at. But the actual adjudication of the visitor visa can really happen anywhere because of the way that the network, the global network is set up. They can move those electronic files easily wherever there is a need to help with that processing. Okay, Deep says, is there any chance to move from the UK to Canada? I will go here. I will ring my bell and I'll tell you to slide over right over here and book a consult with Alicia and with Chanel. And I want to point out something, guys, because I'm so really this first quarter, it's critical. I'm trying to produce 5 new courses. And so I just do not have the time that I did before to do consultations. So that's why I'm encouraging you to go to Alicia. Her rate's $315 for the 25-minute consult. Chanel is one of the newer lawyers with a firm. She's brilliant. She's such a good lawyer, but she doesn't have the same level of experience that Alicia and I have, at least in time. But you guys know that it doesn't matter if you've been practicing for 18 or 20 years like Alicia and I, or you've been practicing for 3 or 4 involved within this immigration world like Chanel. The reality is half the time the programs are new and they start up fresh anyways. And so unless you're constantly learning, you're going to be falling behind anyways, regardless of how much years of experience you have. And Chanel is super keen. She works her tail off, but her rate is a lot cheaper than others. And Susan is also $315. And recently I've increased my rate to $420. And that's purely just because I want you guys to trust and believe that you can go to those other lawyers to book the consults. And I need to carve out time over the next 3 months to really dive in and make sure that I get these new courses launched that I want to. Like I said, that like study permit, PR cards, visitor visas, and even citizenship. Those are all, in addition to the spousal, those are the ones that I'm targeting right now. And I'm going to create one for everything and have master classes and teach and do all those things. So yeah, so head over there, Deep. Okay. Jay says, closed work permit applied from India in March 21. Now my husband is in Canada on visitor visa, and phone number updated file states, stats say background checks in progress. We can expect approval. Okay, so you have to be careful of this too, because obviously where is the location and is the work permit, when it's approved, the first work permit has to be applied for from outside of Canada. There was that policy that allowed you to basically obtain your work permit within Canada, but it hasn't been extended. It ended, and we've been lobbying hard to get that reinitiated. But everything, like in India, you guys have seen, it is an absolute nightmare. 50 plus weeks. That's what we're looking at, Jay Shri. Okay. All right, let's see if Sukhdeep says, hello, Mark, please provide a short answer if Ontario French PNP stream is not codependent or independent. Sukhdeep, that's something that definitely, like, we don't know everything there is to know about every program, right? We don't in the country. And so that's why I don't want to offer, an answer that might not be correct and then yeah, and then just give you misinformation. So I don't know the answer to your question there. That's why we're going to spin it out and do a separate video that really targets it. And then we'll make sure that the answer that we give is correct. Okay. Okay. Because obviously I don't deal a lot with the Francophone programs, whether they're through the provincial nominee programs or otherwise, because I just don't have a lot of Francophone clients. And so that's why that answer, I didn't have that one. Okay. All right. PRS has applied for tier to PR on May 6th, got my PCC only in June, so missed submitting it. Yet to receive AOR, should I apply for PCC again? If it's outside of Canada, you can go ahead and you can do that. It doesn't expire. So, you know, if it's outside of Canada and you don't have a current valid one, then go ahead and get it. Remember, it remains valid as long as you haven't returned back to the country if you obtained it after you left that country. Okay, we'll go a couple more questions here and then we'll wrap it up. Gersharon says, received additional family info form without AOR and TR to PR, and then 2 biometric refund letters in 2 days. Any idea what's happening? By the way, link my application with AOR as well. Yeah, Gersharon, I don't know. There's so much, like I said, there's so much turmoil on the other side of the process. And maybe that there were biometrics that were done previously that they're refunding. I've seen this before, and it's just a waiting game because you have to wait. They control the chips here. Okay, Neutral says, how would you rate the chances of an IT worker with 456 to 469 to be selected between Ontario and Alberta? The only options, as far as I know. Well, obviously, there you've got a decent chance for Ontario. We've seen the range that they're shooting for, and in like manner, you know, with Alberta, the key is that you have a connection and that there's you know, that there's a fit with that. Like I said, February the 1st, I'm going to meet with the head program director for the Alberta Immigrant Nominee Program, and we're going to talk about this in depth. So I'll keep you posted. Thanks so much, Hardeep. I really appreciate that shout out. Venkat says, hey, Mark, thanks for sharing the info. Can we expect any work permit extensions for people who are running out of status? Yeah, lots of you are asking that same question. And yes, I believe that there is going to be some things that are done by the government. They're mindful of this. We'll just have to see how it plays out. Okay, what do you think about CRS score? Would it go over 500? If they open it up, 100% it's going to be over 500 until they flush out all those people that are in the pool. Zara says, hey, Mark, also tell us about the collaborative approach. Okay, yeah, I don't talk about that too much here in the lives because I'm focused on basically trying to teach you. But right here on the top of our page is our approach. And so this is our collaborative review. Basically, it is a way in which we teach you how to prepare your own applications. And in essence, you guys become our paralegals. So we teach you, we give you instruction. You're providing, let's face it, you're providing your information to your representative anyways. You're still filling out their questionnaire or whatever. So we take the position, well, why waste time having you fill out some questionnaire that we transcribe and then maybe our paralegal makes a mistake. You know, we cut through all of that with the express entry. We give you instructions and you have access to our DIY courses. And and all along we work with you. If you have a question, you just call. We set up an appointment to call. If you have something that can be dealt with in email, we deal with it that way. And we support you fully all the way through. No middlemen. It's just lawyers and client. And we teach you how to prepare your own application. You prepare it according to our instructions. Then we get on big, long hour, 2, sometimes 3 hour reviews where we go through every single part of the application. We make changes in real time. We do it through Zoom screen shares. We don't get your login credentials or anything like that. We use Zoom, and then we have you type in your own password and log in, and we respect your privacy. But at the same time, we get right into your applications, helping you guys to make sure that there are no mistakes in the forms. And then when the time comes after we've done the reviews, if there are problems, then we send you away to correct and fix and update documents. We review the reference letters, we review all the supporting documents, and we make sure that everything is complete, accurate, and really in a position to give you the best chance of getting it approved. And then from there, you file your own application. The collaborative review, that scope of service comes to an end, but we're still available to help you at any time if you need anything. We just bill on an hourly basis at 6-minute increments. And therefore, you're not paying for us to babysit a file. You have control over it. And if you do need any help, we're still always there. But that's our collaborative review in a nutshell. But head over to the website and take a look. And you can read up about the collaborative review and how it works. And this is something that we absolutely love. And one of the reasons we love it so much is because it's, for us, It's really fast. We're in, we help you. There's very little delays. You don't sit for months waiting for a paralegal or a firm to, to produce your documents. As fast as you can get them ready, usually within, 1 day or 2 days, we're scheduling those reviews. And that's the difference between us and the other law firms. We love working with you guys, DIYers at heart, who want to have control, who want to learn the why behind those questions, so that then they can put in the best what into those answers. Okay. Thanks for that question, Zara. I appreciate that. Okay, Islam, how can I come to Canada? I'll ring the bell, book a consult over there, and we can help you go through all of that. Does TS of M gives you postgrad work permit? If that's a school, you can go online and search for DLI, and the DLIs will let you know if that school is, I don't know what that one is, if it is on the list. And I'll just show you very quickly here. We are definitely into overtime here. So DLI, Education, Canada, IRCC. Let's see if that helps us get to it. You can pull it up here if I can find the right one. Oh, it never hits the right one. Let's try this one. Come a DLI, submit, compliance. Oh, how many do I have to search down until I actually find the right one? Okay, I'll go here and see if I can scroll through it here. So postgrad work permit. Okay, it's right here. I actually had it the first time. So all you do is you select your province. So if I say, let's say Lethbridge College, then I'll just search it here, Lethbridge, and then here's the college. And you can see right here on the right side, I'll move this over a bit so you guys can see it. At the top, it says, okay, is it a designated learning institution? If it doesn't have this number, if it's not on the list, then you can't get a study permit to go there for studying. But if the next question is, like for example, Lethbridge College here, does it offer postgrad work permits? So the answer is yes. And so that's how you can tell. But Reeves College here, which is a different school, yes, you can get a study permit, but they don't recognize any of those credentials enough to give you a postgrad work permit. So I can't see any reason why anyone would want to go to a school, study in Canada, and not have a postgrad option available. So I strongly steer everyone away from that. It's just a complete waste of money as far as I'm concerned to go to a school that doesn't offer postgrad work permits. There's a reason it doesn't. Okay, let's go through here. Let's see. Okay, Arlene is watching from Sunshine Island, Jamaica. What's the requirement for NOC 8431 in BC? Please, thank you. Arlene, that's something that, once again, I'll ring the bell. A low skill 8431 won't qualify for any of the permanent resident programs. So as far as work experience in that category, it would really need to fall into somewhere where there was a work permit, a low wage work permit that falls under the low skill category, potentially. But yeah, it would be tough, Arlene, with that. Okay, please also give us some details about your collaborative approach. Yes, doesn't seem to stand a good chance in PNPs. Yeah, for sure. So I think I got that one. I'm trying to get through as many as I can here. Okay, I've replied for study permit on August the 5th. When can I expect a decision? Yeah, it is really, really tough. You can go and you can look at the processing times, just like I showed you, IRCC processing times, and you can pull it up and see what the current state of the world is. Miguel, oh, there he answered. Born in Canada. My family's from Portugal. Oh, fantastic. Miguel, I've got a very good friend who's a Miguel who lives in Viseu. And I was able to go back and visit him. He was one of my missionary companions when I served as a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Portugal back in 92 to 94. It seems like an eternity ago. But that's where I learned to speak Portuguese, and I absolutely I just love that country. I love the people. And another one of my really, really good friends is Vitor Martins. And so, so there you go. Miguel and Martins really stood out for me. And I thought maybe you were Portugal. So very, very cool. All right. Thanks for letting me know. I love this human connection and human element. Okay. I'm going to finish off here with Pranjal, warehouse supervisor, location, Alberta, IELTS basic. Okay. Is it worth considering, Mark? He claims it to be a dual LMLA, which could actually lead to PR being offshore. I'll ring the bell there, Pranjal. You really need to slide over and book a consult so we can look at this. It's hard to know. Obviously, in my course, the Express Entry course, I have a section devoted to job offers and including samples of LMIAs, both dual purpose and otherwise. But yes, they're possible. And yes, dual purpose can allow for that extra 50 points. But yeah, often I'll be honest, Pranjal, when people are asking these questions and there's doubt, usually where there's smoke, there's fire, right? And with this huge underground evil industry of people charging money for job offers, oh man, I hate it. I wish I could just shut down every company that did that, who actually charged the worker to give them a job offer, and their agents and consultants and whoever else are involved, that's perpetuating that industry. I'll tell you, if I ever heard of a lawyer doing that, I beg you guys to tell me if you know of any lawyer, because I would report them so fast to the Law Society, they would be disbarred. So they would be done. And I'm really hoping that the Consultant Association will get some teeth and be able to deal with this huge, seedy underground element. And, I can't tell you how many times I've had individuals reach out to me and tell me that the consultant or the agent or whoever was helping them with their work permit was also taking a kickback on the job offer that they were paying the employer $20,000, $30,000. So if I heard about those people, I just hope the consultant regulator is able to tackle them and just get rid of them. So yeah. He says, Mark, speaking frantically, please have some water. Love your insight. Okay, we'll end with that. All right, just trying to jump through because I didn't want everybody to think that the only way you got your questions answered was by posting a super chat. That's why I stayed on so long. I've never had so many people post those. And yes, I will answer those before regular questions. But I want you to understand, you guys, 2 hours later, that all of you are important to me. And, my capacity, I only have limited abilities to help people one-on-one. That's why I'm growing Holthe Immigration Law, so that I have this big firm full of awesome lawyers that care about you, care about the work they do, that know their craft, that can really help. And that I know they would provide the exact level of service that I would. That's why I've created the Canadian Immigration Institute. That's why I'm producing all these do-it-yourself courses and doing the master classes, because I can teach one person or I could teach 500. And that's the beauty of the model, the way I've got it structured. So head on over here to the Canadian Immigration Institute and go to our courses. If you're interested in connecting in and joining the spousal course, there actually still is time. Everything is still available. All the past live streams, everything. Any questions you have, there's still time today and tomorrow. Even if you wanted to join now, you can do that. Jump into the private Facebook group where I have my lives every evening, 5 to 6. And there's tons of room for people to join this one. It's the very, very first one. I'm so excited because it's the first of so many that I'm going to be doing. So much time is put into creating it. And then, of course, click on right here, learn more, and leave your email here so that I can notify you the moment this cart goes open. Because sometimes you guys aren't on YouTube, right? And I don't really do a good job of really marketing it in a traditional way. I just talk about it in my lives. So go check that out. And there's the LMIA course. And I've got other ones, like I said, the PR card renewal course is that's going to be launched. And yeah, it's so good. And you can see even the Sura was here today. So that was the best 347 I ever spent for sure. So, and then Shelly, she's an immigration consultant. She had a great experience, and Shrikar as well. So yeah, just so much fun. I just love this stuff, you guys. Okay, we'll end there. Thank you so much for all of your participation. We'll turn on, that's pretty loud. We'll turn on the intro music, but thank you for being here. Thanks for just, supporting and everything that you do. It means so much to me. And I'm sorry I wasn't able to get to everybody's question. Remember, every Wednesday at 10 a.m., Thursday at 11 a.m., and we'll see, that's Mountain Time. We'll see how things go. But I'm going to wrap it up now. And thanks for sticking around and watching. Good luck with everything. I'll let you know the moment I learn more about this world of, no express entry draws. Anything that I hear, I'll share it with you guys. All right. Thanks so much. And anything we can do, just let me know, because we're here to help. All right. Take care, guys. Mark Holthe, Canadian immigration lawyer, ex-immigration officer, and former high school teacher, wishing you all the best as you navigate this crazy world that we call Canadian immigration. See ya.